wanted to do a quick demo here on flower centers, okay? Because we do a lot of work creating really pretty flowers in one stroke painting, but when it comes to the centers, sometimes they don't always turn out the way we would like them to. I went from basic to complex, all right, and different types of flowers. Now, I'm going to demonstrate the ones that I have here, but I just want to share with you first, right? We go from the basic center dot, very simple. You take the handle of the brush, you dip it into paint, and you dot the center. And then we've got multiple dots here, right? And we've got dots with 2 different colors, and then we've got dots with colors layered, dark and then light. Then we move on to our Scruffy, and we've got different colored centers pounced here, and then levels of detail added to them. This one I'm going to make a little stronger so y'all can see this, but there's actually some detail lines in here. And then there's always very easily, you take the corner of your brush, especially for flowers that are far away, and just do a quick slice through. This is using a flat brush. Okay, so very similar to what a Scruffy might produce, but a little different look to it. Then we go into larger centers and different orientations. We've got this one where it's tipped that way slightly, right? So you can see the front of the stamens down here, and they all curve up in the front and then around in the back. This one is oriented facing you. This is kind of a poppy center. All right, and this one has all the center pounced, and then you pull the stamens in and dot around. Now this, I'll show you as we get to there. Then this should look familiar. This is our sunflower center. Okay, and then this one I was struggling with because I couldn't get it to look the way I wanted to on my worksheet. So I was trying to show you how you can pull that smile in your flower and then have the stamens coming down into the throat of the flower. So I will try and get that working a little better. All right, and then here is like a lily center, right, where you've got just that dark throat and then all the stamens pulled down. And then here we have a, like a, what do you call it? Honeysuckle or trumpet flower, where you've got 2 layers, one over the top and the stamens going in. This is the smile that I was trying to create for this. So that's where I was going. All right, so you ready to see the demo that goes with this? Okay, so I've got some colors out here, and I'm going to start first with the yellow so you can see that center dotted. So, but I've got daffodil yellow, I've got some licorice, wicker white, magenta, sap green, and citrus green. Oh, and I need Pueblo as well. Pueblo and burnt umber for my sunflower center. Here we go. Yeah, you guys are also helpful, helping me remember what these darn flowers are. Okay, so here we go. The first one, as I said, is just a dot in the center. This is what we would do with our daisies and things like that. So you're just going to dip your handle into whatever color you choose and find the center of your flower and do a dot. Okay, so if I was doing, let me do a real quick daisy for you, and then you'll see where that would go. So let me just grab some white here, and you would see, right, normally you would pull all of your petal strokes first, but I wasn't thinking. I haven't been doing that very well lately. I think it's got something to do with that season in my life where brain cells just aren't quite working the way we want them to. And it's frustrating. Okay, so that would be your daisy. And then you would dip your handle into yellow, and you can make a wider circle just by spinning it around on there. And that gives you a real quick, simple, nice looking center without a whole lot of effort. Okay. The alternative is you can come in, let me do another daisy real quick. I wasn't going to do all these flowers, and I won't probably for the rest of these, but just so we've got a reference for these, because these dots don't quite make sense when you just see them by themselves. Okay, So you are too funny getting old. Ah ha ha, it's not funny. Okay, I don't like it. All right, so you would, this is, I've got the citrus green, and I would do multiple dots as another option. So a lighter touch, I don't push all the way down, and I can get that to go a lot further. But there you'll see that you've got multiple dots in there, so that looks pretty also. An alternative to that then is you would go dip the handle into one color, and these colors have to be fairly fresh paint. If they've started to skin over or get a little dry, they won't do what you want them to. So I dipped into dark green and then light green, and so when I dot these, I'm going to get two colors at the same time. See, oops. See, my sap green's a little dry on me. Okay, so that would look like that, but with both colors on your brush. Gilbert, you are a baby. You're just such a youngster. Would you say 31, I think? I wish. Okay, so then the other version of the last version of this is where we do this a lot in poinsettias, where you would do all these dots, big and small, around a center, and you would leave some gaps. Right? Then you would wipe off the handle. And by the way, don't forget to wipe your handles off when you're dotting, because if you're anything like me and you go to flip the brush around, or even sometimes I put it in my mouth, which I'm not supposed to, you get paint where you don't want it. So, okay, so that was all dark and then all light on top of that. So hopefully you understand what that is. Now I'm going to switch to my small Scruffy, and I will show you a couple of real quick pounced centers and ways to do those. So the first thing I'm going to do is pounce one half of my small Scruffy into daffodil yellow and the other half into citrus green. Okay. And remember, to show the orientation of your flower, you want to kind of put the light color to, my husband's on the 19th too, Gilbert. Can you believe that? He doesn't, that way he can't forget. We're all a bunch of July babies, huh? Okay, so you want to put the light to the top so it shows the orientation of your flower. So when you're pouncing, you kind of create a circle, but that lighter color stays to the top. See that? And that's a nice basic way to do it. If you're doing a daisy, you can do it smaller. You can get just a little bit tighter. I just kind of twist it with my fingers so that you get just a little smaller look. Right? And then, poor Deborah, the 13th, 13th, 13th. Okay, so then you would take, I'm double loading with the sap green and citrus and get just a little bit darker version of that. So think about that for some of your more dramatic looking flowers. Again, keeping the light to the top. And you can tip back on the edge of the brush and get a little more control. Hi, Miss Kathy Davis. Thank you for finding me. We were talking about you. I hope you're well, sweetie. But then you can take your handle of your brush and dip into yellow or citrus green or white and do little dots around the bottom. And that's kind of a toll painter look. See there? So that's pretty. All right, then if I wanted to do a different look, I've done this on my cone flowers. So let me get all this paint out of my brush first. And what I do is the yellow and magenta. So yellow and magenta. And you can come and do like a cone shape with that. See there? A little more magenta because that green on my brush is not being nice. Okay, so now you've created more of a cone look for a cone flower of sorts, and then you can come in. So this is what I was doing and it wasn't showing up, so I'll do it with black instead. Get inky licorice. I used inky sap, but it just wasn't showing as well. inky licorice, and you can come in and do a little squiggle lines here and there, right? Just to give it a little different look. You can do that on any one of these, right? You could even come under here and add a little line there as well. Okay, so then, like I was saying, you've got a real quick, just a slice across. So I picked up the 2 greens, one on either side of my brush. And if you want a light look, you're going to put that down and just do a real quick slide across. If you want a dark look, you would flip it the other way. You need the dark on there though. Okay. But that looks nice on what I was showing in my landscape workshop, some of those flowers that are far away where you just want to real quick put some color in there to show a center and you don't need a lot of detail. That works out really well for that. Okay. Then I can take that same brush with the 2 colors, the sap green, oops, and the citrus, and I can pounce a circle. Oops. My sap is overpowering. There we go. Maybe a little bit of white and we'll help that show up. There we go. Okay, so you can get a pounced center as well. And you'll notice we do that when we're trying to real quick get centers in there and you don't want to bother loading a Scruffy brush. Okay, but it's also just a little bit different look because of that flatness of your chisel edge, and you can get a little more control out of that. And I just really like the way that turns out. Okay, so now let's look at these big centers where you've got a lot of stamens coming around the outside. So for example, our cabbage rose. So I'm going to double load my medium Scruffy with my 2 greens. Okay, so I've got citrus and sap on here, and I'm going to pounce the circle, but this will be bigger. Okay, so for like a, not cabbage rose, did I say cabbage rose? I meant wild rose. A little bit of white in there so it's not quite so dark. There we go. Okay, so that would be a center you would pounce and then do stamens going around. And before I let this paint dry on my brush, I'm going to get some black and I'm going to pounce another round circle, and I'm going to use that for something else. I'm going to tip one edge into white and do a little highlight around 1/2. Okay. So when you're doing stamens, you're going to get inky paint. So in this case, I'm going to get inky daffodil yellow, and I'm going to streak through a little bit of white to brighten that up a little bit. A little more water. So pulling stamens, right? You're pulling it from the outside in. So you're going to touch and pull in very short little curved strokes. You got to be up on the chisel, on the tip of this brush. Okay. A good way to control yourself with that is by putting your pinky down and then lowering the tip of that brush so that it's just touching. And you're going to curve around. See how I'm making commas that go from the outside in. So you're curving to the left on the left side, to the right on the right side. And then as you come around, let me get a little bit more white here. As you come around towards the bottom, you start to cut across the middle right there. Okay, so this would be something where you're orienting and tilting the flower back slightly so that you get a little more of a front view. And each of these has to come around like this, okay? All right, and then once you have all those stamens going around, and it looks good if you have a few that stick out a little further out to the sides there, okay? Once you have those done, then you would come in with white or whatever color you choose to dot your pollen on there, and you would tap it. Now when I tap, I'm going to actually let my pinky tap and then let the tip of my brush tap with that pinky so that I don't over push. And see how that's creating perfect little dots? All right, so you just got to be kind of careful about your orientation. See, I just put my finger right in it. All right, so you want to turn. There we go. Keep picking up that white and a little bit of yellow and then tapping towards the end of these. Now a little more white on this edge because of all the dark back there will help these kind of show up better. Okay, see that? So soft and fluffy. You can even go with a little bit of the citrus green out here if that helps those show up a little better. Okay, so that's how you would do that for that orientation. Now if you were doing a poppy, let's say, and you wanted that poppy facing you directly, then you would get the inky licorice on that same number 2 and pull in the stamens going around. Now in this case you can orient them curving both ways, going all the way around. So I might curve a few this way and a few this way. So just let them kind of be a little wild around that outside edge going around. So you guys need to practice these and then share them so I can see if I'm helping you at all. Just even make your centers look a little bit prettier and make you happier with how your flowers look. Okay, so then I would come in with my white on the tip of my script liner and I can tap that around the outside edge of those stamens. Again, just letting my pinky touch against and hit against the surface as I'm tapping around. How quick I do these. I do poppy glasses, reverse painting. If you saw one of my lives from April, I shared, and I've done dozens, if not hundreds, of these little stamens. So you get a little bit of practice going with those and it goes a lot faster. Okay, so that's what you could do with that. And then you can take that same brush and I add a little black to the white and you can create a little circle or a hint of a circle in the middle. And then with poppies, they have that kind of lined top on the center. Okay, so just to give it a little bit of a detail there to help that look like you wanted it to. Okay, all right, so let me get my Scruffy here. That Scruffy is really dirty, so I will do, I'm going to use one of my glass ones, sorry. So for our sunflower center, right, we do our 2 colors pounced on a Scruffy. So in this case, I'm going to use Pueblo and Burnt Umber, and it's 2/3 Pueblo, 1/3 Burnt Umber. And then we create a donut shape. So you start on the right, you pounce over to the left at a slight arc. See how that makes a curve going up? And then once you get to that side, then you come down slightly and then pounce back on a slight downward curve, cutting through the middle so that the Pueblo edge just touches that brown edge from the top part. See that? So you come around here like this and you create that sort of raised center. Yeah, I don't like the licorice. It's too overpowering, especially when you go to stroke your sunflower petals from that, right, Gilbert? Okay, and then you would take your Pueblo edge, tap it into some yellow, and it can be yellow ochre or daffodil or whatever you choose. And then you just lightly tap a highlight on one side of that curve. Okay. So finally, we have some different looks for long stamens. So I'm going to create the back of a trumpet flower. And I'm going to I've got magenta and white on a 12 flat, okay? And so I'm going to just create some ruffles here that come on a V, and then down here I will create the trumpet throat like that, and that comes up to meet these sides like that. Okay, then you're going to take your number 2 script liner, and it can be yellow, green, whatever you like. I'm going to grab citrus green and streak through some white, and you're going to come right out here and pull stamens in on the chisel or tip of this brush. See there? And so just little streaks of white will help highlight those a little bit too. But this is a brush you want to work on learning control. It takes practice to stay up on that point without folding the brush over on itself. So work with it, give it some time. All right, so once you get those stamens in there, then you come back out to the side and you touch on that left and do some more ripples up over the ends of those stamens and join up on this side. You go upstroke to make that curve, and then you can pull this back on the chisel to finish the throat. There we go. Okay, so that would be how you would get a pretty center for a trumpet flower or honeysuckle or whatever you like there. Okay, now for this flower that I was trying to do this smile, it's usually on a flower that has several petals on it. So what I was trying to get to was, if you have petals coming off this way from the center, and then you want to, and let's pull them back here like that, right? And then you wanted to have stamens that were longer coming from, like if this was a I want to say gardenia, and that's not right, gladiola, right, where you have the big petals that come down in the front here. Okay. And you would finish off with one right here in the front. Oops, let me get some more white. Like that. All right. But you wanted to have some depth in the center. What you need to do is come in with some dark, and you create a smile that comes down here and then back out to the other side. Okay. So that pushes that down like that. Then you can come in with your script liner again, and I'm going to use yellow in this case, and you can pull in stamens that go right into the bottom of that, or into the middle of that smile. Looks like they disappear in there. See that? Okay. So that was the point I was trying to make there. And then the last thing I was showing was like the throat of a lily, or any flower that has a kind of deep center. You can side load the accent color, or even brown. In this case, I'm going to do it with brown, and you would do a U down in the throat of that over the colors of your flower petals. All right, and then you would touch out here, stand it up, and pull those stamens down. Okay, touch, stand it up, and pull it in. And if it was a lily, once you got these on there, you can even do those clusters of pollen at the end. I like to use Pueblo for that, or burnt sienna, but we don't use that very often anymore. Right, and they're just little commas that come off the ends of those, like that. Okay. So just some real quick tips on how to get pretty flower centers. I hope that helped you guys. I hope you enjoyed it.